Today's read aloud is The Fisherman and His Wife. Remember that fairy tales often feature a royal character and/or one with supernatural or magical powers. Try to predict what type of magical powers the character in this story will have, and whether there will be a royal character. Listen and see if your predictions are correct. Once there was a fisherman who lived with his wife in a little old run-down hut by the sea. Every day the fisherman went down to the sea to fish. One day, as the fisherman sat looking into the clear, shining water, he felt a strong tug on his line. He pulled and pulled with all of his might or strength until at last. "Didn't you catch any fish today?" she asked. "No," said the fisherman. "I did catch one fish, but he told me he was an enchanted prince and asked me to throw him back, so I did." "You fool," said the wife. "That was a magic fish. You should have asked him for something." "Like what?" said the fisherman. "Go back and ask him to change this dinky hut into a charming cottage." The fisherman called, "Hear me, please, O magic fish! My wife has sent me with a wish." The fish swam up to the surface and asked, "What does she want?" "She says she wants to live in a charming cottage," said the fisherman. "Go home," said the fish. "She has her cottage." Do you think the wife will really have a charming cottage? Do you think the Then she said, "Husband, I am tired of this tiny cottage. I want to live in a big stone castle. Go and ask the fish to give us a castle."
"But, wife," said the fisherman, "he has just given us this cottage. If I go back again so soon, he may be angry with me."
"Go and ask," said the wife. The fisherman shook his head and mumbled to himself. When he reached the sea, the water had turned from dull green to dark purple and gray. The fisherman called,
"Hear me, please, O magic fish! My wife has sent me with a wish."
When the fish swam up, the fisherman said,
"My wife wishes to live in a big stone castle."
"Go home," said the fish. "You will find her in a castle." How do you think When the fisherman got back, he could hardly believe his eyes. The charming cottage had been replaced by a large stone castle. A servant unrolled the drawbridge for him. The fisherman went across the bridge and into the castle, where he found two servants sweeping a smooth marble floor. The walls were covered with beautiful tapestries. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceilings. His wife stood in the center of the room, next to a table piled high with delicious foods. The dejected fisherman walked to the sea. Dejected means sad. Why do you think the fisherman is sad? The water is black. It bubbled and gave off a foul smell. If the sea was foul-smelling, did it smell good? The fisherman hesitated, or waited, and then called,
"Hear me, please, O magic fish! My wife has sent me
They escorted the fisherman inside, where he found his wife sitting on a high throne studded with diamonds. She wore a long silk dress and a golden crown. In her hand she held a scepter studded with rubies. On one side of her stood barons, dukes, and duchesses. On the other side stood a line of ladies in waiting, each one shorter than the one before.
"So," said the fisherman, "now you are queen."
"Indeed!" "Husband!" she bellowed. "It displeases me that the sun and moon will not rise and set at my command." If something pleases you, it makes you happy. So what does displeases mean? Go to the fish and tell him I must have the power to make the sun and the moon rise and set whenever I choose. See that it's done immediately. The fisherman walked back to the sea. The fish only said, "Go home." And so he did. Do you think the fish had granted the woman's wish? There he found his wife sitting in the old run-down hut, and there they lived to this very day.